Good afternoon, everyone. I am Pratap, and today I am going to discuss some basic aspects of scientific advancement and scientific creations of our nature. Whatever we can talk about is somehow related with our perceptual experience. There is nothing about which we can talk is not related to our experience somehow. So basically, first of all, if we think, we'll realize gradually that anything about which we can talk, about which we can think, about which we can realize is uh, start starting from our perceptions. So first of all, we can say that everything is related somehow by perceptions. This is the initial step of our considerations. And there are different types of perceptions. Like there are different source of gathering experience, like visions, smell, taste, and touch, and some other type of perceptions are there. And apart from human, there are some other type of perceptions which can be experienced by some other creatures. And out of all these varieties of perceptions, the vision is most important for human. The most of our knowledge come from the visions. When we experience something, if we think about that, we'll realize that this will come from visions, visual experience. What is visual experience? It's basically observations through different directions. At that stage, will we think, then we'll conclude the idea that the understanding process of our mind is based on the concept of same and different. These two words, same and different, are very important for our understanding process. Our understanding process is based on the comparison. We'll always compare the things with one another. So when we look through different directions, the same thing here is some observations, visual observations. All the things is here the visual observations, but the different is they are at different angle. So when we compare the things, we'll see there is some similarity and there are some dissimilarities and differences. These similarities are basically the same thing. The dissimilarities are the different things. So our understanding process in another way can be interpreted as a classification process. We basically classify all the things and try to find out what is the same between arbitrary two chosen things and what is the difference between these things. Based on the comparison and classification, we can understand our experienced world. When we see, we basically observe through different angles, and from our observations of visions, we infer that in reality there are positions, many positions which are related to the directions. Different directions correspond to different positions. So from perceptions to visual perceptions to directions to positions. So in our experience we observe the different directions, and at any directions there are some obstacles or there may not exist any obstacles in that directions. So in reality there are positions, that's why we can observe through directions. So from our perceptual experience we infer that in reality there are positions, and in some positions there are obstacles which are basically known as the object in reality, and in some positions there is nothing, that is well known as vacuum. So any position is either occupied by obstacles or either it's a vacuum place. So the concept of same will work here. The idea of positions, we'll talk about the idea of positions. We consider that we want to distinguish the identity based on the idea that they all are positions. Then we'll find the concept of space, that it is made of positions. This is a part of reality, and in space there is positions, and in positions there may exist some obstacular object or there may not exist any obstacle, that may be known as vacuum. So now if we look at our perceptual experience at this stage, we'll realize that our experience is somehow is a continuation of moments. The experience is something which is somehow a continuation of moments. That means now and then and after that and after that and after that. It's a gradual continuations, and with this idea we associate uh, identity which is known as time. It's a reality. So what we can analyze till now, we can see that in our experience, in our perceptual experience, there are something, and for explaining our experience, we infer that there exists some physical reality, some physical real identity, physically real identity. So they are existing, that's why we can experience them in such a way. This is the logical way of inferring our experience to give the completeness of our perceptual experience. And the idea of time is somehow related to the continuations of our experience of moments. Yes, and if we think of different moment in our visual experience, we closely look at and we'll see that at some at a particular positions, at a particular moment, there is one obstacle or object, and somehow after a certain moment we'll see that the object vanishes from that position, and we'll see that the same appearance will exist in a neighboring positions. That means in our experience, in our perceptions, something is vanishing and something is appearing in a near positions. So we inferred this experience as if the object or obstacle is changing its place from one positions to another positions. In reality, they are changing. In our experience, we are seeing the vanishing and appearing at two neighboring points. In reality, there is changing of positions. Because why we are inferring this? Because always our mind try to find out a simple way to interpret our experience in a logical way. So in that stage, my request is that try to think what will be the possible way to interpret this experience. So our knowledge will be gathered, or our knowledge of reality will be inferred from our perceptual experience by using some logic. In that logic, there are some basic assumptions which will be considered, like the assumptions based on our mind's characteristics. Our mind will always try to find out a way for interpreting so that the interpretation will be very simple and our understanding will be very simple. In our experience, we can see that something is vanishing from a position and the same appearance is appearing in neighboring positions. What may be the event or situations in reality is our experience. Vanishing and appearing is our experience, and we'll think that in reality there is space, in reality in space there is positions, in positions there may exist obstacle or object, or there may not exist any obstacle or object. So the simple way of interpreting is that the same thing, I said that the idea of same and different will always be workful in any situations of our understanding process. Like one object, the same object is changing its positions from first position to second position. So my request is that in that case, what will be the other type of way to interpret the experience? We can interpret like this one object is disappearing from one position and another object is appearing with same appearance in the nearest positions. That is second type of interpretation. And the another way of interpreting is that the first object is somehow went to many places and after a certain period with a very small time, a small moment, it appears in a neighboring positions. But it's a tricky idea that if it will go to some other place, then we must observe that thing. Mostly it it is a it's a way that the possibility of happening of this is very less. But it's one of the way of interpreting the things, but the possibility is less as it is appeared here. There may be some other way. If you think and you will find out, you may find out that there are other way to interpret the things. So firstly, separate the idea of experience and reality. Will always the things we will always experience, will always perceive something of reality. So reality is different. Reality is different in that sense, it's a different identity. An experience is a different identity, and our task is to identify or to give the completeness to our experience by including the logical existence of the reality. And so there are different type of way to interpret any experience. So most simple and accepted way of interpreting of the situation is that the obstacle or object is same and it's change its positions, and this is known as the displacement. And if we distinguish, if we try to, if we want to distinguish the displacement, then we have to think of the situations and the nature of the reality. From our interpretations, from the perceptions, we know that in space there are positions. In positions there are objects or obstacles, or there are vacuum. And the obstacles may change their positions. They will disappear from one position and they will appear to another positions, in another neighboring positions, with taking some moments. So this is called movements of the same obstacles. And the positions are huge. That means if we want to classify the positions, if we want to deal with the positions and their positions and object and their displacement, that is the main factor in our visual perceptual experience, that things are in huge numbers. So at that stage I will take a help of example. You'll know, and I said in the first that our understanding process is based on the comparison. And to compare based on the comparison and classifications, and to classify the identity based on comparison, we have to take help of the idea of associations, that to classify the things we have to associate some ideas which we can understand. So basically there are three things One is perceptual experience, the second is physical reality, and the third one is the associated idea. So these three are different in their own existence. How can we associate the reality based on our experience? Now, as we can see that there are huge positions in space. To distinguish or classify them, to deal with, we have to classify them, and to classify, we have to take the help of associations. I will discuss how to associate the idea with the reality. And in that in that in these situations, I want to take the help of one example. If we say that he there is a person and I call him as Mr. X. There is another person, I call him Mrs. Y. There is another person, I call her as Mrs. Z. And if we try to find out the persons and try to associate some name to distinguish them, after a certain time I will forget the name of first person, or I will forget the name of third person. Because of what? Because I associated some idea, associated something with the reality to distinguish. But in that association process, I didn't use any logical way to remember how to find out or distinguish them. So, first of all, when there are huge things, huge number of things, in that case, the random association will not work. So, first of all, we have to take some logical way so that we can find out a way to recall them or to distinguish them, though they are in huge numbers. We basically use the idea of same and different. Here, if we consider these positions as x, if we consider these positions as y, now I want to consider another positions, which positions will be symmetric from both the positions. so that it will be simple and it will be unique in a sense, because we have to distinguish them. So uniqueness should be there, and so in that case the symmetric positions should be this. So from that positions, if you see that two positions, neighboring positions, they are symmetric, so that our mind can catch it easily. So in that case, we are considering another points so that our mind can understand it easily. So first x, y, and this will be z, and we want to take another positions. Which positions will consider here? We have three positions which are somehow related by the idea of symmetry and same. We'll consider the two positions out of the three positions, and there should be neighborhood positions, neighboring positions, and we consider x and z. So we'll again consider a positions which will be symmetric from the both x and z. So that positions will be symmetric. So first of all, you can see in that case that we are using the same logic repeatedly. We considered x and y, we then consider z in a symmetric manner. I consider the two out of three, I consider the two, and we consider another in a symmetric manner, and again other two neighboring positions, and I consider particle positions in a symmetric manner. So there are five positions in that case. So in first stage we'll consider symmetric, in second stage we will consider two symmetric, in third stage again we will consider the each neighboring two positions, and we will consider symmetric positions. In this way we are trying to gather the positions in such a way the simple logic will be used there, so that our mind can interpret it easily. So there is no such complex idea which is changing in each stage, or we have to remember that. So our understanding process is such that we always try to find out a simple way to understand the things. So logic will be used here, the same logic will be used here. That's why the idea I said that the same will be a very important idea to understand the nature and to understand the reality. So if we try to use this way repeatedly, then we'll consider every point in a straight line. So all the positions on the straight line can be distinguished based on these ideas. And first of all, for each step you can see that now I'll see that why I use this process and why it's simple, and what will be the process that may be complex. Consider, and again I will just slightly go to a generalization of the idea, that And before that, I am trying to say that for every stage there is a position, there is a associated something. Basically we use some letters for associating that positions. So we'll gradually go in a logical way to a certain points. How we can go to a certain point? Consider these 2 points and we'll consider another arbitrary point on that straight line. So in that case we'll first go, we'll start from left, this side, and I will first go here to here and here. There are 3 stages. I'll go from here to here. Now I'll consider these two and the particle is here. So I'll go from here. There is 2 options, here and here. If the point is just left of the middle point, then I will not go here. If the point is just right to the middle point, then I will go here. And now I will again, if it is in the left of the middle point, then I will stay here. And again I will I will consider the another point which is here and here. In this way I will gradually go. In every stage the process will be repeated, and in that process I can say that for generalization I can say that uh, after considering 2 points, I can take more than 1 point on the straight line in such a way that any point will be symmetric from the neighboring 2 points. There may be some in each stage there may be more than 1 divisions. There may be 9 divisions or 8 divisions, 6 divisions, anything you can use. So this is flexibility of using the process. So there are some binary systems, there are some decimal systems which will use some uh, different number in each stage. The thing is that if we consider A, B, C, D, E, F for starting new classifications of positions, then in each stage we'll use the same number of class divisions. It will not happen that in one stage I will use 6 number, in the next step I will use that 4 number. Then it will be complex in a sense that in which state which will be used will be a complex thing. So the simple thing is that in each stage we'll use the same division. So in binary number there are 2 divisions. There are one particle, symmetric particle will be considered. In decimal system there are 10 numbers, 9 symmetric positions will be there. So in this way we can arrive in such a positions that we can distinguish the positions on a straight line. So all the points on the space can't be distinguished in this way till now. So there will be some extra new process which we have to use to distinguish any particle in such a way that that distinction will be more precise, and the distinctions will not be associated with any complexity. So this is known as, this is a systems, associated systems. So in reality there is space, in reality there is a straight line, and there is in the straight line there is positions, and in that positions we can perceive the things, and after perceiving the positions or object or obstacles we can associate the idea of some systems which is known as the number systems. So there are basically three identity in our present situations. This is the most important discovery of mankind, of our human, the number systems. And as there are huge positions, so when some obstacle will disappear from one position to another positions, we can clearly distinguish from which positions it will disappear and to which positions it will appear, and what will be the process of displacement, and we can precisely distinguish the displacement. So this is the way of precisely explaining or describing of situations. So you can see that number system is a very powerful system which is based on the simple logics and simple ideas, and which use the idea of symmetry or same, which uses the idea of gradual classifications or periodic repeatedly doing the process, and based on these simple ideas the system stands. In the next class I will discuss how we can associate and we can give the completeness of positions in space by using these number systems. And thank you for today, and bye.